Jan Grossman.
Okay, welcome everyone to our National Monthly Peace Builder call with very special guests tonight, including all of you. We have Dan Kahn, who's co-facilitating with me tonight, Dodd Maver, our founding executive director, Hart Phoenix and Jeffrey Weisberg, who co-founded the Peace Alliance, and Cecilia St. King. Cecilia and her music have been recognized by the United Nations, the MK Gandhi Institute for Nonviolence, and the National Peace Academy. She describes herself as an inner peace troubadour who performs original songs with positive spiritual messages. And I have her link. I'm going to put it in the chat for anybody who wants to check her out. And you may want to open your chat because we are going to put a lot of links in the chat. If you go down to the bottom of your screen, there's a chat box. You just click on that. At the end of the call, if you want to save the chat, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner of the chat, there's 3 dots. Click on that and it says save. And tonight's call is being recorded and we're also on Facebook Live. And so I'd like to just quickly introduce some people. And I'm just going to have them raise their hands so you can see them. And whoever I call on, if you can go to the bottom of the screen where it says reactions and where it says raise hand, just raise your hand and then lower it when I call on the next group of people. So the first 2 people I'd like to recognize are the 2 that helped me contact all of you. Lori Russo. There's Lori, and Kendra Mon. I'm not sure if Kendra is on yet. Okay. And then I want to introduce our managing director, Deanne Tate, and our board, those people who are there on our board. I know Judy's here, Judy Kimmel and Terry Mason. Anybody else on our board that's here? Okay.
Liz.
Oh, Liz, there's Liz. Yeah. You want to wave, Liz? Okay, great. I'd like to introduce Nancy and our team leads. Nancy Merritt is the team lead for Department of Peace Building. Any other team leads we have on the call? Ann Creeder is our international peace building lead. Okay, and then anybody on the Department of Peace Building Committee here? If you can go to the reactions. Okay, there's Karen. Anybody else?
Marty.
Oh, Nancy.
Nancy, Marty.
Hi, Marty.
Hi.
Hey, Marty.
How are you?
Laura.
Hi, Judy. Hi, Dot. Great.
Great. All right, so our mission at the Peace Alliance is to empower civic action toward a culture of peace. We're guided by the 5 cornerstones of peace: community peace building, humanizing justice systems, fostering international peace, practicing peace in schools, and cultivating personal peace. The 5 cornerstones are endorsed in the Blueprint for Peace, and you can click on the link in the chat and it will allow you to sign the Blueprint for Peace, which will notify your state and federal elected officials that you support policy priorities around peace building and violence reduction. And you want those priorities reflected in legislation. And at last count, there have been 170,000 contacts to elected officials. It's just 1 click to sign it. And then the 5 cornerstones of peace and the Blueprint for Peace support the vision and legislation for U.S. Department of Peace Building. And toward the end of the call, I'll introduce Nancy Merritt and she'll share upcoming actions and events around the Department of Peace Building. So at the time we planned this call, Ukraine had not happened. And for many of us, this has been a game changer in the work we're doing. There's renewed interest in advocating for peace building and infrastructures that support peace building. And each of you have been instrumental in this work. And tonight is a time to be grateful for the bonds that we have cemented when we were all working toward that same vision. And everyone on this call continues to carry in their hearts the vision of peace. We know we can't just dream of peace, we have to work for it so that we don't ever have to again suffer the heartbreak of war. And we'd like to begin tonight's call by taking a moment to hold in our hearts all those who have suffered and continue to suffer from war. While Ukraine is currently aching in our hearts, we want to remember everyone. And before I read the list of all the countries currently at war, I want to invite you to our June call. Jennifer and Master Kim of the Peace School in Chicago will join us to perform the flag ceremony, where the flags of all 194 UN recognized countries are shown one at a time. And we send peace to each country. And then each flag of the state, each state flag in the United States is shown, and we send peace to each state. And Dot connected me with Jennifer and Master Kim, and she'll be on the call. Somebody's needs to mute. Dot connected me with Jennifer and Master Kim. She'll be on the call in June to offer the silent minute, and she'll also do that tonight. So after I read these countries, Cecilia is going to perform a song for us. Dot will lead us in the silent minute. We'll have a panel discussion and then a lot of time for questions and open sharing from all of you. And then we'll end the call with a song from Cecilia. So, in addition to Ukraine, countries at war, and that could mean a drug war, a civil war, ethnic violence, terrorist insurgencies, or a combination of those. And these are the ones that I found, and there could be covert wars going on that we don't know about. Afghanistan, Algeria, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Chad, Colombia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ethiopia, Iraq, Libya, Mali, Mexico, Mozambique, Myanmar, Niger, Nigeria, South Sudan, Syria, Tanzania, Tunisia, Yemen.
One power, one power, one power. There's one power invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power indescribable, yet you speak it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. As simple as the love inside of you. We'll call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Ba'ula, Hashem, or Heaven's Door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power. We speak so many languages, have different clothing, different colors, different names. But difference is only dangerous when we forget that in the heart we're all the same. Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord. Call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem, or heaven's door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul, or it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth, or Father Time. God, whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. It's the power of love in you and me. One power, one power, one power is who we are. One power, one power, one power. It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby, the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon for love that's most deep. It's one power. It's one power. What we are is it's the power of love that lives forever in you and me. It's the power of love in you and me. One power, one power, one power. Sing with me. One power, one power, one power. Thank you, thank you.
Cecilia, that was beautiful. One power is right. Here's a Zoom one power of love. But right, one of the children said that. Here's the Zoom heart, one power of love. So it's so good to be in this sacred circle with everyone. It's so good to see everyone. It's like I want to yell out everybody's name. Oh, my heart is singing. So thank you, Peace Alliance, for calling us together at this incredible moment on the planet. And Kathy, thank you for presencing Ukraine, Russia, and we want to dedicate this Global Silent Minute to peace through unity as we stand with our brothers and sisters around the world. So we recognize that there is no other. I am you, you are me. We are one human family, and all the work that we've done together over the years has been all about love. The Global Silent Minute was inspired by the original Big Ben Silent Minute. And that silent minute at 9 p.m. daily helped to end World War II. In these times, we are offering our daily 5 p.m. Eastern Global Silent Minute to bring an end to all war, to bring peace to humankind and all life, as we call for global cooperation, peace, and freedom. The power of silence is greater than we know, and it is in silence that we experience unity. Silence as action in sacred unity. So let us prepare to enter the silence together. With a deep breath, we activate the spirit of peace in our own hearts. And we unite our fiery hearts across distance. And now we invite all those on the other side of the veil to join us as we hold the shared intention of the healing of nations, both within and between, as we call for a world free of war, a world free of nuclear weapons, a world living in peace, through the realization of infrastructures for peace in our governments around the world. As the Tibetan bowl sounds, we enter our minute of silence in sacred unity as we hold our shared intention. May peace prevail on earth.
Thank you, Dot. Thank you, Cecilia. All right, I'm going to introduce Dan Kahn, who I'm sure many, if not most of you know. Dan began as district team leader in Florida, was then state coordinator of Florida, and then became national field director with part of his time spent in the DC office. And Dan was planning the National Peace Builder calls up until a year ago when he passed the baton to me. Dan is currently co-executive director executive co-director of the Florida Restorative Justice Association. And he also volunteers with the Community Connections Restorative Justice Program. And Dan is going to moderate the panel tonight with Dot, Hart, and Jeffrey. So Dan, thank you so much. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Kathy. And it was such a pleasure and a relief to pass the baton into your capable hands. I'm sure everyone on the call will agree it could not have been a better segue. I think folks on the call may relate to this. As I started getting deeper into the Peace Alliance, went from being a congressional liaison to congressional district leader, et cetera, the deeper I got, the sweeter it was. It was beautiful from the outset, and I just wanted more and more of connection with folks who were really walking their talk and trying to live peace and build more peace in the world. And three of the folks that really were at the heart of things back then and continue to be such movers and shakers are Hart, Jeffrey, and Dot. They hardly really need any introduction to a lot of the people on this call, but I'll go ahead and give them an introduction anyway, just to fill in some of the details of what folks may not know. or may not have heard recently. Dot Maver's keynote and passion is inspiring cooperation on behalf of the common good. Dot was the founding executive director of the Peace Alliance, as you've heard, and was one of many who served in the Kucinich for President campaign and then became part of the initial building of support for a Department of Peace. Presently, Dot is co-founder of the Global Silent Minute and serves on the board of directors with the River Phoenix Center for Peace Building and the National Peace Academy, and she is a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle. Jeffrey Weisberg has been a Florida certified mediator for the past 25 years. He's a co-founder of the Peace Alliance and served on the board of the Peace Alliance Educational Institute for several years. And motivated by the work to create a cabinet-level Department of Peace, Jeffrey co-founded the River Phoenix Center for Peace Building, RPCP, where he designed, developed, and implemented a wide range of programs and services that inspired prevention and intervention and restorative strategies to move from conflict to healing. He's currently the executive director of RPCP, working with youth and adults to bolster alternatives to the punitive model of justice. Jeffrey is also co-author of the Little Book of Restorative Justice, A Restorative Path Toward Justice. Heart Phoenix, for over 5 decades, has worked as an educator, activist, and champion of the environment, animal rights, social justice, peace building, and gender equality. She's also a co-founder of the Peace Alliance and the Peace Alliance Educational Institute, and was inspired to create a model Department of Peace in a local community to bring nonviolent solutions to conflicts, hence the birth of RPCP. Hart is co-founder and president of the board of RPCP and has developed successful partnerships with the Department of Juvenile Justice, the Police Department, the Sheriff's Office, Alachua County Schools, and countless other organizations through her tireless efforts to launch and drive the work of embedding best and next practices in the field of restorative conflict resolution. She's past president and current board member of the Florida Restorative Justice Association, and her passion and commitment to nonviolence have been the center point of her life, as evidenced by her celebration of over 44 years of vegan living. So this is our panel. So as you've heard, their time with the Peace Alliance was a part of this mosaic, this building movement towards peace building in lots of different areas. So my first question for all of them is around that, the relationship between your time with the Peace Alliance and the other work that you've done. So how has that experience with the Peace Alliance influenced or supported some of your other endeavors that we've been hearing about? What's the relationship between this work and that work? Anybody want to go first?
I could go first.
Sure.
Hi, everybody. It's happy to see you all. I mean, look at us, the longevity of these relationships built on love and everlasting. So thank you all for being here. So I would say that my experience with the Peace Alliance just totally changed my whole way of thinking and knowledge base. I mean, you know, I was an activist for very many years and specific to a certain area. Where there was environment, I was really into it and brought myself to the other pieces of animal rights and social justice. But when I got involved with the Peace Alliance, we created a family together. We created an incredible movement, and the possibilities that we were standing for were so dramatically unique. And I have to say that, you know, Dennis Kucinich was a real, his very beginning of talking about what peace really was and what weapons of mass destruction were really changed my whole way of thinking, because I was thinking of peace always again as no wars in the world. And we're going to stop the wars. We're going to stop the wars, and realize that the wars are inside of us. They're in our families. They're in our communities. They're in our cities, country, and world. And so the depth of that brought me to say, I have learned so much through the conferences we did, through the talks we had, through the experiences that we had lobbying, just learned so much about humanity and how we worked, and decided that we would take what we learned and bring it to a small community, rather than wait for a Department of Peace nationally, because it would take a little bit of time. And maybe we could make more headway if we created a model, a comprehensive model, and brought it to a small community. We just happened to be living in a perfect size community in Gainesville, Florida. And so we started the River Phoenix Center for Peace Building, and with this kind of overarching level of taking the pieces that we learned through the Peace Alliance, through all that we did, and brought it into, manifested it into an actual model, not only a model, but a teaching modality, and always intertwined with the love and respect for all of you that have sustained the Peace Alliance to this day. While I remained on the board for many, many years, I was young when we started. You should have known me then. Those of you that didn't, for many, many years, it is Judy and Terry in particular, and then the other incredible, and well, I was going to say, and then the people like Nancy and Anne that kept the ball rolling in terms of the Department of Peace legislation. That's me.
Dot, would you like to go next?
Thank you, Jeffrey. I would love to go next. Yeah, the Peace Alliance has really informed so much of my thinking too. And I was younger then too, Hart. Come on.
I remember, believe me.
Remember? Yeah, I remember. We were all younger then. And in fact, David just made a private comment to me. You touch my heart as always, David. So yeah, but you know what? We're still young at heart. And I can remember right after 9/11, and Nina Meyerhoff, many of you know Nina, and she's now with One Humanity Institute. And right after that, when she came back to Vermont and we met together and we said, let's invite some of our friends. We have to do something for the children. And we ended up doing a Share the Spirit of Peace Summit in Vermont, and then ended up doing like 7 of them around the world. And so when we all met, we said, who should we have keynote? And we thought, oh, David Eisenhower for sure. He was right there in Vermont. And then Nina goes, and Dennis Kucinich, she says, and we all go, who's that? Right? So, and with, of course, he had just introduced the bill, H.R. 808, July 1st, 2001. And as she described that, and we learned how to pronounce his name, when he showed up for the Share the Spirit of Peace Summit, it was amazing. And it's like the rest is history in a way. So the Peace Alliance, for me, tied to at the heart of institutionalizing peace on this planet, and particularly domestically in the United States of America, as we attempt to find our footing at this time, a very challenging time, has just, as I said, informed everything. And in fact, the next step beyond that, as you know, was the National Peace Academy. That's always been my favorite part of that bill. And so as Hart, as you just said, to work so closely with River Phoenix Center and take all those principles and ideas and put them into practice and really start to demonstrate how we do this, how we institutionalize peace. Because, yeah, peace is not the opposite of war, nor is it the absence of violence, right? It's a dynamic unto itself. So I'm excited to be here this evening, my evening, whatever it is for everybody else, but with everyone on this call, because there are things happening right now that maybe we'll get to later as well that are really exciting at this moment in time for all of us, regardless of our chronological age. While we're still on this side of the veil, we have some work to do, folks. So excited to be here.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good evening. This is such a delight and pleasure to be here. And as you were sharing, Hart, I was going back even earlier to the Global Renaissance Alliance. and our work with Mary Ann and the first conference that Hart and I went to at American University, where we met Lynn McMullen and Matthew. And that work of bringing like tough minds and tender hearts, as Mary Ann would say, and having political discourse, but informed by a higher consciousness. And we had those circles here in Gainesville, as I know many of us on this call had around the country, to really practice educating ourselves, but also grounded in a place of compassion and understanding. And so that's truly informed me and my work, my development, and what we do at RPCP, because we have some fundamental differences and profound polarization, and where I don't agree with a whole lot of what the other, different communities, different perspectives might believe, and yet the practice of building bridges of understanding and cooperation. So the work that I experienced through the Global Renaissance Alliance and the Peace Alliance has truly enabled me to grow my muscle of holding the space for conflict, holding the space for differences. And one evidence of that is the police youth dialogues that we've been running for the last about 8 years or so, where we brought together over 1,200 police officers and 2,000 youth to help create conversations of understanding. And I remember in our lobbying, where, we're going to see this Republican or this person we really don't agree with, but always finding common ground. And at the core of it is this practice of solutionaries. What are we really going for? So those have been really fundamental for me. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks to you all. I want to check in with Kathy because I want to make sure that there's time for discussion and question and answer. I have several other questions. Do we have time for one more, or tell me how much time we have? Oh, you're muted right now, Kathy.
Oh, you've got at least another 10 or 15 minutes.
10 or 15? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Next question. Are there one or two examples of peace building practices that are particularly inspiring or exciting to you right now that you'd like people to know more about? Either specific programs or specific areas where there's stuff that's happening or it's on the frontiers of that you really want to share about. I know you've all shared a little bit about some stuff. Is there anything else that you haven't mentioned that you want to shine a light on?
Well, for me, we have a relationship. The US State Department has a program called IREX that brings fellows from around the world, from about 80 or 90 countries, to a host organization for 4 months. And so we've been doing it for about 8 years, and we had a woman from Ukraine who was living with us for 4 months, and we had the opportunity to travel to her home community in Melninsky and to walk in Kyiv, where there's this incredible destruction happening right now. And so what we're really looking at is how do we begin or continue and deepen community conversations between all of us and anybody who's willing to come together. But in particular, as I was sharing earlier with Dan, that Ukrainians and Russians are super close in relationship. They have family, et cetera. And so a big part of our work is to create collaborative opportunities to rebuild and to find common ground for people within those communities.
Great, thank you. Dan, you were tracking time better than me.
Okay.
It is time for Q&A.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to open this up to everybody on the call, and any question you want to ask of Dot or Hart or Jeffrey or Dan. I've also put some questions in the chat as thought starters. What does being on this call mean for you? What originally called you to the vision of a Department of Peace? How has Ukraine affected your activism? What is yours to do in the world, or whatever's alive in you? Feel free to raise your hand and we will call on you. Dot.
Thank you. While people are getting ready, thinking about what they're going to respond to there, Kathy, I just want to come back to Ukraine for a minute. And Jeffrey, as you were saying that the dialogues that River Phoenix Center is putting forth with Maria are outstanding. And I want to go back to One Humanity Institute and just lay two seeds into our field. One of the things that's happening on the ground when you ask the question about practices and programs, Dan, is there are so many people who want to assist. And One Humanity Institute is now playing a role in Poland and renovating the Auschwitz bakery, and now talking with the government there about renovating the SS barracks to provide housing for, they don't want to say refugees, for guests. And with that, at the same time, within the bakery, there's a resource room, and we're going to get computers donated now so that we can set up a digital classroom so that the youth coming across the border can then hook back into with the youth in Ukraine. And we've got lots of peace educators and others who are offering programs, practices, etc. And one of the best places to take a look at some of that is the Global Campaign for Peace Education, which we're all quite familiar with. But anyway, with that happening, the second seed I just want to lay in the field, and then I'll be quiet, is that it's, Dan Creeder, you have been leading for such a long time this UN resolution committee within the Global Alliance for Ministries and Infrastructures for Peace, which the Peace Alliance helped found back in 2005. I just want to seed a thought that we could all hold together. Wouldn't it be wonderful for Ukraine to step forward as the lead country with a UN resolution right now, with so many other countries who are poised with their support of a culture of peace and lots of other things tied to that, and really take a step forward to make war archaic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dot. So anybody have any comment they want to make? If you could go down to the reactions and raise your hand so we can see you, or raise a physical hand.
Lynn has her hand raised, Kathy.
Great, Lynn.
Hello, everyone. Oh, it's just so lovely to see all of you. I think the first question that you put in the chat of what does being on this call mean for me, I'm thinking back so many years of all the time we spent together in so many ways. And I'm not as active as I once was. However, I went on in my life to do work with Rita Marie Johnson in the connection practice. And so everything that I learned from all of you, what has shaped me in, let's say, my middle years. And it just helps me every single day of my life to remember who I want to be on the planet, whatever I'm doing. And so I'm just in such gratitude for all of you. And currently my focus is working on gun violence prevention, which is so critical these days. We're working with the Maine legislature to pass bills. And so everything I learned from all of you about lobbying and so forth, it just really comes in handy. So I guess I would just say, I'm just in love with all of you and always will be. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Lynn. Barbara, you're next.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just so thrilled to see everybody here. It's so beautiful to see your faces and so hopeful. like somebody said, our work is not done. And so I just want to share quickly, one of the things I experienced with all our work together was that there was a part missing for me personally, and that was spirit, really actively putting this in. And so in the meantime, I became an interfaith, interspiritual minister. Yahoo, yay, outside on the street, really on the street, doing movement chaplaincy on the street. That's where I'm going, but I didn't know where exactly. But just recently, I'm talking about the beginning of this week, 2 days ago, some of the circles that I'm in for peace have intersected with some of the peace circles in Ukraine. And we now have I just put it in Facebook. Oh, maybe I didn't click the right button. And there we go. If you want to follow this, the Sunflower Birthing Circles on Facebook, it's about to become a website. So there's doulas and midwives who are helping the mothers who are pregnant in Ukraine come across to be able to birth their babies in safe conditions, and then to find housings. And they're calling the houses sister houses. It feels to me like another dimension of the Peace Alliance has exploded into this, in the midst of this violence. There is this sunflower that is growing and blooming. And the work that is being done is all really grassroots, and simply people who don't know how to do some of these things stepping up and say, I don't know how to do this, but I'm willing to help. And of course, fundraising is one of them. And so the Green Tent Circles is one of the ones that I'm part of with Ann Smith and a lot of the women who were at the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women for many years. We're still doing that. So I just want to say that it's awesome, and thank you for seeing all your faces, and check it out.
Yeah. Thank you, Barbara. So I'm going to go to Jan, then Marty, then Terry. Jan?
Hi, everyone. First of all, one thing that this call means to me is I'm just feeling so moved because we've made some of our best friends through this work, and just seeing you all just really moves me. So thank you for this opportunity. So personally, I'm a life coach and spiritual coach now, have been for many years. I've felt my son, Rob Atkinson, pulling me from beyond the veil to do this work. And I'm working with a lot of world changers that are and will be doing some wonderful work. And I also wanted to give a shout out to John McNeil and Christine Elliott, especially Christine, who has done such amazing work helping Wendy Craig Purcell start the Anti-Racism Institute that has now gone national and maybe even international. And I was hoping that Christine might want to talk about that a little bit, because I think it's such wonderful work, and John and I have both benefited from it and educated ourselves from it and even led groups from it. So thank you for putting on the call, and I'll continue to look for ways that inspire me to help.
Thank you, Jan. Marty? You're muted. Marty, I'll go to Terry and come back to you. Terry?
Sure. I recently shared this with some of the folks on the call. I shared it with Judy when the war just began in Ukraine. And Judy said, war is obsolete. It has to stop. And I shared a quote. I don't remember who wrote it. It was an article that I had shared. But the quote was, war is a pathetic, brutal, outdated lack of imagination. And that quote stuck with me. And I just want to invite everyone here to invigorate, enliven your imagination. Bring your imagination forward. If that is a lack of imagination, let's bring all our imagination forward. What can we create? What can we imagine? What can we imagine could be real in this world?
and let's do that.
Thank you, Terry. Marty?
Oh, I just want to say what an honor it is to be on this call and all the people that have truly inspired me. I have been anti-war all my life and working until I met Judy Kimmel, and she changed my verbiage into peace. And in 2008, I had a business plan done on at Middlebury, at MIIS, on peace being profitable. And I was honored to have Judy on my Afghanistan conference and my one on green architecture, I believe. So from there, I went on and did one with Sudan. And I had a young girl, Ronica Berry, that I brought to meet Dot Maver with Dr. Atkins. We had lunch once. I don't know if you remember. But what's very interesting is, I just want to say, and also Nancy Meredith is just my idol here. I'm going to do a bronze for her. I feel like all the energy that we put out is crashing back, at least for me. And one of the things I wanted to do is to bring the National Peace Academy down to the Middlebury Institute. And I did. I brought Dr. Atkins down. They loved it. And then, that's been like 10 years. Well, 2 weeks ago, one of the professors, Marie Butcher, who is taking over some of Jan Black's classes. And I know you all know Jan from Amnesty International. So my girlfriend takes me to lunch and she says, Marty, we have to get your business plan up and going because peace is profitable is much better. I just don't want to talk to my students about war anymore. Yeah. I'd like to get connected with the National Peace Academy. And I go, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think we're going to be able to set up a Zoom, right, Dot? I hope.
Right.
Yeah.
So Marty, I'm gonna ask you to just quickly finish up so I can get to some other people.
So I just wanted to say all our efforts for about 10 years or more are not lost, and it's all coming back. And even the work that I did with Judy and Nancy, it seems to be all coming back right now. So.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
So after Christine, I'd like to everybody to just take 30 seconds to tell us some of your one of your favorite memories with the Department of Peace Alliance, so we can get some more people in the call. Christine?
Hi, everyone. It's so great to see all these faces. I know we all feel the same way. It's just inspiring and delightful. Thank you, Jan, for the shout out. I just wanted to let people know about what Department of Peace means to John and I, and I'll speak for myself. I remember that training day with Lynn McMullen and Dot Maver here in San Diego. We had 145 people at the Unity Center, and I started to learn. I'm from Canada. I knew nothing about lobbying or American government or civics or any of those kinds of things. And as a result of what I learned there and the lobbying we did and starting these, the Southern California district and the work that we did, I was fully prepared when I became an American citizen. And it's just meant the world to me, the learning about how things can be done and hopefully one day will be done in America as far as Department of Peace building. The way it manifests in my life now is being on the board of the Anti-Racism Institute, which is a new nonprofit. And our approach really is to educate white people about what it means to be a person of color in America, because many of us who live in a white dominant culture really don't know. I certainly did not know what I didn't know about living in a skin that's a different color. And once you learn the lived experience of a person of color in America, you can't not do something. So our our 7-week program ends in every single graduate doing a racial equity project out in the community of their own choosing. And that's how we're making an impact and how I continue to keep my heart around peace. So
Thank you,
thanks for the
Christine.
opportunity.
Thank you. So how about some more people, a good memory you have that you'd like to share? Yes, Susan?
Am I?
There you go.
Okay. Well, from the very beginning, before the Global Renaissance Alliance, I became involved when it was, I can't remember the name. I don't know if it was National Peace something or other. And that morphed into the Global Renaissance Alliance. So I go way, 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 way back. Enjoyed being involved in the conferences. I have a dear friend, her name is Jerry Eitner, and she had connected me with Dennis Kucinich many years ago, and I was able to move around with the Department of Peace legislation and lobbied for a while, and then had the good and volunteered, and then had the good fortune of working with Kathy in DC, in the DC office for, I don't know how long we were there. How long were you there?
I think it was about a year and a half.
So enjoyed volunteering there, and then sort of stepped away for a while, well, for a long while, and I'm just delighted to be back. So it's lovely to see faces that I remember from way back when, from conferences, from get-togethers, and it just feels like there's a new, like an energizing effect here, as if things are starting to come together again. So it's just lovely to see all of you.
Yeah, thank you. Cheryl, and then Julianne. Oh, Cheryl, Ted, Julianne.
It's really hard to pick one. They're just so, I know I'm going to cry. It's so amazing to see everybody. I think this was a group of people that I felt like was my tribe more than anyone I've ever met. And I remember being on one of our forwards, and Lynn McMullen was leading a meditation, and we just envisioned circling Congress and sending them light. And I still think about that a lot, and I do that a lot, and I've been doing that constantly, like every day. I think about Ukraine, I think about Putin, and I send him light, and I send him love, and it's something I never would have been able to do without being part of this, to realize he is a human being. And when we just isolate in our mind and think of him as evil and bad, you know, he seems to have lost sight of his humanity, but that doesn't mean we have to. And I think there's real power in that. There's real power in sending that love and that light to someone else, no matter, you know, what we think of what they're doing in the world. It's, and being a spiritual person, it's really hard to know what the big scheme is and what role somebody plays. And despite all the horrific consequences of their actions, somewhere I have to believe that there is a higher power that knows where we're going. And I think our role is to hold that space for Putin to find himself to be human again. Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
Thank you, Cheryl. Does anybody know how to contact Lynn? We've been trying to get in touch with her. If you do, let me know in the chat. Just you can private message me. And there are some posts in the chat. If we have time, I'll read them, but I'm going to go to Ted next and then Julianne.
Hey all.
Hi,
hey Cheryl, thanks for that reminder. I remember that meditation with Lynn as well. And afterwards, I do long distance running, and I used to imagine George Bush on one side and Saddam Hussein on the other side, and we just talked through how to get through this. So that was fun. But the memories I had, I know we all did a lot of work, and just seeing all you is fantastic. But I know we put a lot of work into these efforts, but my fond memories are the after parties and the side events we used to have in the DC conferences, in the San Diego Forward, where I met Wendy, or got to know Wendy better, I should say, and we haven't been apart much since then. But one of the fondest things I remember was that it was my second conference. It was the one where we were actually staying in, I think it was Arlington or Alexandria, the other side of the river. And we had an evening, our post lobby event was with Steven Tyler and I guess that was Georgetown or George Washington anyway. And it was a great event. Everybody put a lot of work into that. Everything went well. I remember as we were leaving, Wendy and I were cleaning up and helping out, clearing people out. And I stopped by the stage and picked up a piece of paper that Steven Tyler had written down his little notes on. I wish I could dig that out quickly, but I couldn't. So but it was really a fond memory there. And then as we were leaving, we had to go out the back door, and the talent was still kind of winding down, and the back door, everybody, there were just tons of Steven Tyler fans hanging out down there waiting for them. And it was a cold night, and I had a trench coat on. I pulled the coat over my head as we left the door, and everybody started screaming, "Yeah!" And then it was just me and Wendy, and I took my coat off. I was like, "Oh no!" And I said, "Well, what are we?" And a bunch of them said, "We love you too." And so that was just one of the things that kind of stood out. But really, lot of good activities that we did. Appreciate getting to know all you. Good to see my friends from Maryland here, Joyce and Susan, and maybe one or two others that I didn't get through. So good to see everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, Ted. Great to see you too.
And my San Diego shirt.
Yeah, great. Julianne?
I was going to mention the very same conference, Ted, but I was going to bring up Walter Cronkite and what a treat it was to.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was so awesome. And Dennis was there as well. For me, it was particularly fun because Marianne went with my group to see Orrin Hatch, but of course Orrin Hatch was not available. So we met with his. Yeah, and the staff had heard Steven Tyler on NPR that day, so that was pretty cool. He was very impressed with that, but that was a great conference. There's so many memories, so many different times we were all together, and whether it was on the phone or in person, I just really appreciated it. And Wendy, you look awesome. So as everybody does, but you look so dang cute. That's all I'm going to say. Love you all.
Thank you, Julianne. Wendy, I miss you. You're up.
I miss you too, Kathy, and everybody. It's so great to join this call even late and to be part of these really special memories. If you ever wonder if peace and love go together, please know that Ted and I met during this movement, and been, as he said, not far apart ever since. Gosh, babe, what is it? It's almost 15 years. And we actually got legally married just a couple of years ago. So it's official. He's not getting rid of me, no matter how hard he tries. So what an extraordinary special memory. I was going to share one of my favorite memories is my first kiss with the man I didn't know was going to be my future husband. And I think that could be actually one of Terry Mason's favorite memories too, because she walks out in the hallway and saw us. It was like being in high school at the January Forward in San Diego.
That's great.
But I also remember being with Ann Creeder at the Friends Committee for National Legislation and sitting there having conversations with people who had dedicated their lives to lobbying for peace. And here I was, this newbie, just learning and being there with Ann, who really opened that door to that amazing organization and connecting us. And, you know, the times, of course, being on the Hill, and sitting with the contingent meeting with the California group. And it was myself and Mike Robbins and a whole huge slew of us in Barbara Boxer's office, and these little kids coming in who were her staff. And I was just like, really? Can you guys buy alcohol? I don't know if you can, because they were so young. And having actually talking with such passion and enthusiasm about the work we were doing, and then having them throw out names of legislation and not knowing what they were talking about. Like, we were like, oh wow, there's so much more to learn and understand. And then amazing times at Judy and Joel's house, coming together as the board, transforming and retransforming and retransforming and recreating over and over and over. And to see Judy and Terry and Dot and Hart and Jeffrey and so many of us who, and I should say you actually, who, and Nancy, oh my gosh, Nancy continuing to lead the charge for speaking about the Department of Peace, and Kathy coming full circle, and just that willingness to keep recreating ourselves in so many times, in so many ways. And what an amazing testament it is. So wonderful to see all of you.
Wendy, I have a secret wish for you to come back and help me.
Oh, that's another actually strange favorite memory. I might tell more than people want to know, but Jeffrey actually facilitating a time when Kathy and I were both on staff, and it got really hard, like really hard. And I remember Jeffrey saying, you're in a really hard situation, and it's really hard to be your best self when you're in a really hard situation.
Yeah.
But just that commitment to keep on trying and keep on being and keep living the thing that we were all advocating for. And Hart, I quote you all the time with my staff now, we're not just here to get our work right, we're here to get our lives right.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Wendy. Oh, we have time for a couple of more. David. Oh, and then somebody with Dan Hart, Jeffrey. David, go ahead.
I think it was 2005. There was a Northwest conference for the Department of Peace legislation at a retreat center on Puget Sound, and Lynn McMullen was there. And it was like the morning before breakfast, the second day, and there was a labyrinth at this retreat center. And I started walking into it just kind of empty, not knowing what to expect. And it didn't take long before I just got this total certainty that someday there will be a US Department of Peace. And I just wept. And then I went into breakfast, and Lynn McMullen asked me to be the Oregon State Coordinator, and how could I refuse?
Yeah, it was hard to say no to Lynn about anything. All right, so last will be whoever wants to share with Dan, Hart, and Jeffrey, and then we'll start closing up the call.
Yeah, it's me, and it's Hart, and I wanted to share that at one of the conferences in the very early days, Lauren Abramson shared from community conferencing, and that was a turning point in my life. She talked about restorative justice and about how she showed a video on how people that were totally against each other and, you know, in jail, and criminals, and it just blew my mind. I couldn't comprehend the fact that people could have the courage to face each other, whether they'd been hurt by someone or whether they hurt someone. And that stuck with me. And that's a primary piece of peace building in my eyes. It's preventative, it's intervening, and it's healing. It's a beautiful process. So any of you that don't know that much about restorative justice, please just look it up, write us or something, or write Dan, or it's such a beautiful, beautiful way of humanizing justice and each other.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to introduce Nancy Merritt, and she's going to give us some updates on the Department of Peace and what's going on right now. Nancy joined the Peace Alliance and Department of Peace Building campaign in 2004. She's been with the Peace Alliance continuously since that time. She served as state coordinator for California for the last 15 years. She represents the Department of Peace Building campaign on the Peace Alliance Leadership Council. She was instrumental in getting Barbara Lee to introduce the bill in Congress after Dennis Kucinich was unfairly redistricted. So Nancy, you are on.
Okay, it's so nice to see everybody. One of my duties on this call was to admit people in the into the waiting room. So I've had the honor of seeing all the faces who've come on, and it's really, really exciting. I also want to apologize to Cecilia earlier for my alarm going off. It turns out if you burn too much sage, it sets off your alarm. So anyway, welcome everybody. It's like I said, it's really nice to see you. As you all know, there is still a Department of Peace Building bill in Congress, and we're excited about that, and we hope some of you will get reinvigorated to advocate for it with your Congress people. So my slot is to mention a couple of calls that we have coming up relating to Department of Peace Building and a couple of actions. We're going to have a trainer kind of refresher call for people who are interested in learning more and participating in the Mother's Day Pie actions. And I'm sure most of you remember this Genius initiative by Lynn McMullen. We've still been doing it. We've still been going to the offices. Of course, the last couple of years have been virtual. So this year will be mainly virtual visits also. So I think Deanne is busy putting into the chat when these meetings are, where you can, how you can sign up and all that stuff. So we would love to have you involved in that. Another event we have, so that call is on the 25th of this month, just next week. Another call we have is a two-part series with the author Rivera Sun, and it's a conversation with her about her book, and it's also a fundraiser for Department of Peace Building. So she's written a series, Ariara, which I haven't read yet, but it's a fantasy adventure that also incorporates the idea of anti-bullying, nonviolence, and that kind of thing. So that should be really fun, a really fun thing. And we thank her for doing this as a support for Department of Peace Building. The next thing is on, what date did we decide? 5/11. We'll have an Engaging the Grassroots call for any of you who would like to share more about how you would like to get engaged or what you're up to, and to learn a little bit more about what we're doing in the Department of Peace Building campaign, which is taking on like 1,000 new directions right now. So even I can't keep up, honestly. And then one of the actions I've got to show you this. So how can any of you possibly resist this pie? This is the pie we're asking you, the virtual pie we're asking you to send to your Congress people or any Congress members for Mother's Day. And it also includes a little blurb about how Congress people can sign up to be co-sponsors of the Department of Peace. It's not an in-person pie, but the good thing is it's calorie-free and it's organic. So please go ahead and send that to your Congress member or any Congress member you would like. And then just quickly, we're doing every month, we're calling it 11 minutes, 11 calls for HR 1111. And we have a different list each month of Congress people to call, and all that information is on our website. So we would love to have you all do any part, all of that. And like I said, it's so nice to see you all. It just brings back a lot of memories. So Kathy, back over to you.
Thank you, Nancy. Dot just emailed me or messaged me, which is a wonderful idea, Dot. Thank you for bringing this into our heart space, to take a moment to remember Lynn. And could you help me with that, Dot? What might that look like? Oh, you're muted.
Mutificent, as Becky would say.
Mutificent.
So take just a moment and offer love from our group heart on this call to our beloved Lynn McMullen. Let's just take a breath together and do that. We love you, Lynn. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Dot. All right, so the events that Nancy just shared, the calls can all be found on our calendar at the Peace Alliance. The link will be in the chat, but you can also go to peacealliance.org. In the top right-hand corner is the calendar. You can look and see what's going on any day and click on to get the phone numbers or the Zoom link. We send one email a week on Mondays to let you know what's coming up that week. We have monthly empathy circles, the National Peace Builder call, which is tonight, monthly Department of Peace Building call, monthly consciousness raising book club, and on Saturday, 2 Saturdays a month, we have the Hope Story circles. We have some new programs developing, the Bring the Peace movement and Building Peace Story by Story, and those links are in the chat. And if you love and benefit from our programs or just fond memories and you want to give to us, consider donating. We currently have a goal of raising $20,000 and enrolling 22 monthly donors. And if you want to be a part of the network, you're not already receiving our emails, you can click on the link in the chat and sign up there. And if you miss any of our calls, you can listen to them on our Peace On podcast page. There's a link in the chat, or you can go to peacealliance.org, and Peace On is, around on the top, one of the hyperlinks. And you can share it on your Facebook page, and also go to Peace Alliance on Facebook and like us. So that is going to finish us for tonight. It's been so wonderful to see all of you, see the names, and I hope you've scrolled through and looked at who all is here.
Kathy?
Yes.
Could we mention the call tomorrow night?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night we have
Great.
Dennis. Oh, go ahead.
Nothing. I just want to make sure we mention it.
Yes.
Surprise.
Say that again.
It may be a surprise for some people.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So tomorrow night we have Dennis Kucinich on the monthly Department of Peace Building call. So we hope you'll all join us. And that call starts at 5 Pacific time, 8 Eastern time. And again, you can go to the calendar and click on the link there to join the call.
So Kathy, could we also, if folks are interested in learning or re-engaging a little bit more about the Department of Peace Building campaign, or want to join one of the calls, if you would put your information in the chat, that would be really helpful. But
Great.
it's all on the website calendar too. So
yeah, great. Yeah, if you want any of us to follow up with you because you want to engage again, just put your name in the chat, or you can contact any of us. So we're going to end with Cecilia singing us out with a song. thank you all again for being here. It's been just so beautiful to read the names and see the faces and share the memories. We have been connected through the years and will remain that way.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to see everybody tonight. My heart is feeling really full. As a songwriter, I want to give credit to Daniel Nahmod, who wrote One Power, and also to my friend Mindy Simmons, who just over a month ago, she and I were scheduled to do a peace concert, and she passed away. And this is Mindy's song, and I just put her chorus in the chat. It's called I Wish You Peace. When I lay my head on the pillow down and I say a prayer for the world going round, you, my friend, will be on my mind. May the human race treat each other kind, and I wish you peace, and I wish you well. Peace to the world, peace for ourselves, and I wish you love, and I wish you friends, peace and amen, till we meet again. May each and every one do our very best. May our spirits soar till we earn our rest. Give an equal chance to every boy and girl. One love, one God, bless the world. And I wish you peace, and I wish you well. Peace to the world, peace for ourselves, and I wish you love, and I wish you friends. Namaste, till we meet again. Bury all the arms in our children's time. Let us all stand firm, basic human rights. May we learn to feed all the growing minds. Work for justice and freedom in our time. And I wish you peace, and I wish you well. Peace to the world, peace for ourselves, and I wish you love, and I wish you friends. Namaste, till we meet again. And I wish you peace, and I wish you well. Peace to the world, peace for ourselves, and I wish you love, and I wish you friends. Shalom to you, till we meet again. My friend Mindy Simmons, long may you sail. God bless you. Thank you, everyone.
Love you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Hope to see you again.
Thanks, y'all.
Much
love.
Thanks
for all you do.
Love you all. So
Hello, everybody.
Aaron Goldman. Aaron
Aaron,
Goldman.
Aaron Goldman with a beard. Look at that beard.
Goldman gonna be a father.
No.
Ryan, where's Maya?
Wow.
Hey, Maya. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, here's the vote.
Oh my God, I love your beard. Erin.
Mazel tov.
Oh, Julie, that's great of Dan.
Dan,
my
remember
favorite
this?
picture.
Thank you for joining us today at Peace On. We hope that it inspires you to engage in dialogue in your larger community. Peace On is brought to you by the Peace Alliance, found at peacealliance.org.